soon we need him more than ever. All of my heart is crying, Hosanna. He's raising up a standard. Hosanna, Hosanna. We need to wake up, acknowledge, just present. When he comes in, don't hear anything, cause there's a message. That's right, we need the truth forever in our midnight. Your race is up to you. Abba says he's gonna help us win it. He got me feeling like, ooh, I knew it when I met him. He's loved me since forever. Feeling like you. So I just gotta tell him I love him so. Hosanna, na, na, na. Hosanna, Hosanna. All of my heart is crying, Hosanna, Hosanna. He's coming back soon, we need him more than ever. All of my heart is crying, Hosanna. He's raising up a standard. Hosanna, Hosanna. Please come back, 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 back. Hosanna. Oh, Hosanna. Please come back, 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 back. Oh, Hosanna. Hurry back, 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 back. Hosanna. Oh, Hosanna. He's coming back, back, back. Hosanna, my heart is crying now. Hosanna, Hosanna. Yeah, he's coming back soon. We need him more than ever. He's coming. All of my heart is crying. Hosanna, he's raising up a standard. Hosanna, Hosanna. Oh, Hosanna, Hosanna. Oh, Hosanna. Oh, Hosanna, I'm longing for the day. Oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna.
Hey friends, it's Ione. Today's video in the Let's Talk About Race discussion series is about how in America, mixed race doesn't exist. That was something that I noticed when I first moved to the US. I have a white parent and a black parent, and I am mixed race. In America, you are black. People who have parents of both races cannot identify as being as both. And I just found it such an odd thing. I'm going to tell you a story about when I went to get my green card. I was in an office. I had to get my biometrics taken to get my green card for the US. And I was filling out the application form, and I took it over to one of the people working in the office. And where we put race, in England, you can have mixed, white and black Caribbean, which I've always ticked in the UK. In the US, that doesn't exist. And so I ticked the Caucasian box and the African American box or black box, whatever it said. And the guy looked at the application form, he laughed at me and he said, "You're not white." And he crossed out the white. And it was really interesting for me because I was like, what are you talking about? It asked what my race is. I'm mixed. He's like, yeah, but you're black. This was a black guy saying it. So it wasn't like, I didn't feel like he was being racist in any way. It was just his opinion as fact. And this was the time when Obama was president. And I was like, you do know there's like a mixed race president right now? And he's like, yeah, well, and kind of just brushed off the conversation. He's like, well, you can only tick one box. And I was like, okay, well, I'll tick the other box then and not say. And it was just such an interesting, fascinating thing for me. Just, you know, that still in America, this, I guess it comes from this black drop rule, where if you had an eighth black, you were considered black in the US during sort of slavery and after that. And I guess I just don't live by those definitions. I am not conditioned to be put into a box based on what quite backwards ways of thinking many, many years ago. A while ago, I also made a video about when Taye Diggs, an actor, wanted his son to be able to identify as mixed race. He is black, he had a white partner, their kid was mixed race, and there was this huge uproar about it. He's just ashamed of himself because he's black, he's with a white woman because he doesn't like black people, he hates himself. But this is a lot of the stuff coming from black people themselves about him. And just for me, why can a person who is half black and half white not be able to identify as both of them? Because in the opinions of others, they believe in this whole black drop rule, which was just a made up story by people years ago. That's not a fact of life. It's not a fact of science. It's just something that people have said. Another thing that I do want to touch on is, why is it important for mixed race people to be able to identify with both? I was raised by a white woman in England. So when people label me as black, they're making a lot of assumptions about me and my upbringing and who I am. And oftentimes that's incorrect. And I just think that rather than looking at a human being, labeling them for the color of their skin, making a bunch of assumptions about who they are, why don't we just first stop to get to know a person and ask them and talk to them? We just stop having to put people into checklists and just get to know the person for who they are and learn about their family, about their upbringing, rather than make judgments and assumptions. Thanks for listening.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Night Insights. This is Marion in the Man Cave in Memphis, right here at the corner of information and inspiration. And it's great to be with you, whether it's your first time with us or you've been watching for a while, whether you're watching the broadcast live or you're accessing from a video archive. Either way, I am so glad you're here. If you are a Bible reader, you might be familiar with the fifth book of the New Testament, the Acts of the Apostles. It's one of my favorites for a lot of reasons. Among them, it tells the story of the church in its toddler years. It gives a blueprint for the inclusion of outsiders. It introduces the reader to the unique personalities of people like the Apostle Paul and Barnabas and others. But about 2 decades ago, I became familiar with some details about one of the early church leaders that connected with me personally. Of course, most folks know that Timothy was the Apostle Paul's protege. They had a mentoring relationship. In 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 2, Paul addresses Timothy as my true son in the faith. That's beautiful. We also know that Timothy was a fairly young person because later in that same book, Paul gives this advice. He says, don't let people look down on you because you are young. But when I was newer to the faith, I realized that I had a lot in common with Timothy. And that is, both he and I would understand what it means to be between two worlds, what it means to live between two worlds. What do I mean by that? Well, in Acts chapter 16, it says that Timothy lived in Lystra, and his mother was Jewish and a believer, but his father was a Greek. Now, those are two very different cultures, and those were Timothy's parents. What must it have been like for Timothy? Did his parents speak different languages in the home? Probably so. Was he ever pressured to embrace one culture and reject the other? Did he or others see his status as a bicultural, biracial person as an asset or a liability? Well, I'll leave it to you to read how his dual experience strengthened the church and changed the world. But in tonight's program, we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to live between two specific worlds in America, the black one and the white one. Now, I've asked a couple of friends to join me this evening because they have insights similar to Timothy and to me. Each of these people are folks of grace and candor with whom I share a kindredship, a connection that goes beyond our cultural identities. And I'm eager to introduce them to you tonight on Sunday Night Insights. So, as with every episode, I want to introduce you to creator music friends that I've made over the years and to share a little bit of their music and their shine with you. Now, one such person I only very recently met because we were introduced by a mutual friend. Now, just a few nights ago, someone shared a video with me, and that started one of those YouTube binges that make you feel like you know the YouTube personality personally by the time you're done. Becca Shea's YouTube channel features her own unique music, incredibly clear video, and a unique approach to taking the secular and making it sacred, washing that worldly music in the blood. Now, to do this in a way that is not hokey takes a high level of cultural intelligence, theological knowledge, personal experience with Jesus, and musical prowess. She pulls it off with skill. And that's why the video that I'm about to show you has been viewed more than 1.6 million times on YouTube. And I hope Ed Sheeran likes what he sees.
I found a truth for me. I'm daring to dive right in and follow your lead. I found a hope, beautiful and sweet. I always knew that there was something waiting for me. I was so lost till I found your love, not knowing who I was, but you've never given up on me. Your kindness just lets me grow. Your heart is all I want, and in your eyes, you're holding mine. Oh, now I'm dancing in the dark, safe within your arms. I'm wiser from my past, and you've become my favorite song. Even though I was a mess, you have still given me your best. I don't deserve it, your grace is perfect tonight.
Well, I found a man stronger than anyone I know. You are my peace, my joy, my promise. You are my home. I found a love to
carry more than just my secrets. And when I am weak, you carry me, call me your own. I was so poor till I found your love, fighting against all odds. I know I'll be alright, 'cause you're mine. Heaven is holding my hand. You're my world and my best friend. And I see my future in your eyes. And oh, now I'm dancing through the dark, safe within your arms, and I'm wiser from my past. And you become my favorite song. Even though I was a mess, you have still given me your best. I don't deserve it, but your grace is perfect tonight. No, no, no. Oh, now I'm dancing in the dark, safe within your arms, wiser than my past. And you become my favorite song. I'll have faith when I can't see, 'cause I know one day we will meet in person. It'll be so worth it. No, I don't deserve it, but your love is perfect.
Wow, that is just amazing. And I am so grateful because Becca Shea has joined us this evening. Hey, Becca Shea, how are you?
Yay! Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you can join us this evening. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'm glad that we have a mutual friend in Damian Horn, aka Mr. D. So tell us a little bit about your background. Who is Becca Shea?
Wow, that's a heavy loaded question for me because I have a huge story from all different kinds of directions.
Yeah.
Who am I? I am a daughter of God, and that's an important thing. I think, I have a story that is from a broken home, a broken background, and a picture of how God takes brokenness and he makes wholeness. So many things that I don't deserve, but he has overwhelmed me with his grace and favor. I absolutely am a miracle. And I have a lot in my story. So I think to sum it up in just a few minutes would be hard, but yeah, he's taken me from a lot of brokenness, and he has revealed himself to me as real and true and a real God. He's manifested himself like in real ways through healing, through deliverance, through the peace, and through his joy and through his love. And because I know him, I feel as though I am very, very focused on what he wants for me to do. And so that's where I'm at now. And I'm happily married for 16 years to my favorite person on the planet. And I have 3 beautiful daughters. And I know that he called me to use my gift and my voice. And so that's what we do full time now.
And what an amazing story that has translated into this voice and your ministry. Thank you so much for sharing that with the world. I've been going through your YouTube page, and I love the concept of if this song were a Christian song. What made you start doing that?
Honestly, I think it started because the music is just a powerful weapon. I really, really appreciated when you said how you take something secular and make it sacred, or
Yeah.
it becomes sacred.
Yep.
Because for me, that word sacred is really, really, it's a heavy and it's a very like important word.
Yeah.
Because for me, it is very sacred. Everything we do is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
God gave us this gift, this like music and these ideas and this creativity and this talent. And I have nothing to offer God, because in myself, it's like, I tell my kids this, I'm like, you know, how can our kids actually help us do our taxes? That would be ridiculous, right? Like they don't really know how. It's kind of like us saying like, how can we help you, God? Like, what can we do for you? And he's like the
Right.
creator of the universe, who placed every star in the heavens and knows them by name. And you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, how do
Yeah.
we really help God Almighty? And so we
Mhm.
don't have much to offer him. But for me, I feel like it's just really just being grateful and thankful and
Yeah.
being faithful.
Yeah.
And for me, the fact that he gives us something and we can just simply just give it back to him, that's very sacred. That's like our one thing that we have that we can say, okay, let's give it back to him. Music and creativity, I just look at God as a creator. I look around me at the beauty and the scenery of nature. Everything that he does is creative. He is an
Yeah.
ultimate designer and creator. And I believe 100% that the enemy, our adversary, the devil, cannot create anything. He
Yeah.
can only copy and he can only steal. And ultimately, it's God who creates everything. So really, like, I feel like, you know, the devil comes and he steals and he perverts and he twists. And so when it comes down to music, anything that you hear that's super catchy or dope, like anything that's beautiful and amazing, God created it first,
That's
you
right.
know? And so when I hear,
Been misappropriated.
I'm like, man, what was that supposed to be? Like, what was that? You know, it makes me sad when I see things that, you know, aren't, and not that in any way that I feel at all like I'm perfecting it or redeeming
Sure.
it. But I feel like, you know, sometimes we walk through the malls or at the grocery store, we're getting gas and we hear these, you know, these pop songs are top of Billboard. You can't help but hear them. They're like playing over and over everywhere you are. They get
Yep.
stuck in your mind and they're catchy. And I would just rather have, you know, that song playing with the words that are pure from my heart. And
Yeah.
and really it's as simple as that. I mean, I always say I don't sing a song I don't mean, and I don't write a song
Yeah.
I don't need.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something to try to like downplay on where someone is in their journey or their process in life.
Sure. Mhm.
That, you know, when people write, they write from the heart. The Bible says, you know, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So wherever someone is, I still can honor that. But at the same time, for me, I love that song, but man, I can't sing it, you know? So I like to sing a song that I mean, and that's really as simple as it was.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if Damien has shared this with you. The Salvation Army has a rich heritage in taking secular music. I mean, going back to the 1860s and 70s, taking the secular music of the day and making it sacred. It was part of the evangelism of the early Salvation Army. So I'll send you some of the information on that. It's really intriguing. And, you know, the founder of the Salvation Army, William Booth, would be thrilled with what you're doing, because that was very much his approach. Now, you have, the song Awake, I think it might be one of your most recent singles. Yeah, you released it on YouTube like a week ago. Looks like it's getting some great views. Would you tell us a little bit about the message behind Awake?
Sure. Woo! It's high time right now for us to be awake and alert and to be aware of what's happening. I just think, you know, there's two sides to what's happening in our world and in our realm. There's a darkness and there's a light. There's fear and then there's a faith. You know, there's a hope. I mean, then there's there's hate, there's love. I mean, think about all of the things, you know, there's like the bondage and then there's the freedom, and there's so many contrasts happening right now. And we have to have the discernment to really choose life. Like, there's death and there's life, and to choose life and to really see the hope of God and the truth and the life and the light. And for me, it was, very awakening that I felt that God is wanting his children, his daughters, his sons to come home in this hour, because if you don't, it's almost like that. It's like a life and death decision. Yeah. And so anyway, so it's very serious to me, how he was stirring my heart with this song. And I could just hear him singing this, like, awaken, so much for more of like the revelation and the discernment of his truth. And I think a lot of times I'm having conversations with people in this, in this hour of everything that's going on, and people are so wanting to talk about right here, and talk about, the world and the situations and the disappointments and the distractions. And I'm like, come on, like, look up. God is calling to look up. This time is short, and really it's just a wake-up call to that eternity is at hand. Today is the day of salvation. Like, we're not here but for a blip. This is very, very short. And honestly, it was really cool because blowing the shofar is a warning. It's also a wake-up call, but it's also this beautiful sound of victory at the same time. They used it, for all these reasons. And we released it on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Feast of Trumpets.
That's right.
The song, and it was just so powerful. And God just has really put his hand upon the song. And for me, the visions that he's revealed to me through the words, it's time to arise. Can you feel the fire? I mean, it was like crazy, because just like the contrast, like you see fires happening on the earth that are destructive and are bad. But at the same time, I'm seeing like revivals and like people, just like groups of people like rising up and becoming like healed and baptized and like free and set free for the things of God. And there's like this different spiritual fire and this, this carnal look, and then this spiritual way. And, so everything is very parallel to one another. There's the counterfeit, of course, and then there's the real thing. And so, I want to share that song with everybody who is watching tonight as we close. And Becca Shea, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to be sharing your social media channels here in just a few moments, but I want everybody to become more aware of the music that you make. They've seen a bit of your heart, and wow, you're as much of a preacher as you are a singer, and you've really encouraged so many people tonight. And so thank you again for being with us. Oh, thank you so much again. Thank you for sharing. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Can you feel the fire rising up higher, higher, higher? Oh rise, darkness can't stand by, 'cause the light is getting brighter, brighter, brighter. When we hear the trumpet sound and the four winds blow, we will be the ones found, looking up, ready to go. In the twinkling of an eye, we will be raised high. Every heart beating in time with God and I. Awake, sleeping giant. Open your eyes, it's time to rise and shine. Yeah. Awake, sleeping giant. Open your eyes, it's time. Jump out, come alive. Revive, breathe the breath of life, let it fill you with power, power, power. Revive, hear his voice, be wise, ready for the final hour, power, power. When we hear the trumpet sound and the four winds blow, we will be the ones found, looking up, ready to go. In the twinkling of an eye, we will be raised high. Every heart beating in time with Adonai. Come, to be shine. Open your eyes, it's time to rise and shine. Yeah, come, to be shine. Open your eyes, it's time. Your bones come alive. Holy, holy is the one who was and is to come. Holy, 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 holy is the one who was and is to come. Holy, holy. And when we hear that trumpet sound and the four winds blow, we will be the ones found, looking up, ready to go. In the twinkling of an eye, we will be raised high. Every heart beating in time without a night. Open your eyes, it's time to rise and shine. Open your eyes, it's time. Your bones come alive. Open your eyes, it's time and shine. Awake, and open your eyes. Dry bones come alive.
Wow, that is some kind of voice. I hope you enjoyed that. You need to go ahead and follow Becca Shea and support her music. I'm amazed at her voice and the quality of her music production. Those videos, as you can see, are amazing. Again, you can find her on the social media channels below. Go ahead and follow her now. Now, my next guest lives between two worlds. First met her in 1998 in upstate New York. Her parents played a vitally important role in the development of my faith. And over the last 2+ decades, we've kept in touch and they remain precious to me to this day. Maureen is also an incredible vocalist, a follower of Jesus, and she is the child of a Black father from South Carolina and a white mother from Berlin, Germany. Maureen, guten Tag. How are you?
Guten Tag, wie geht's?
It's good to see you, my sister. How's it going?
Good.
Hey, welcome to Sunday Night Insights. Hey, tell the viewers a little bit about you. Who is Maureen?
Sure. So I'm Maureen Kemp. As he stated, I have a German white mother and a Black father from South Carolina. As Becca Shea said, I am a daughter of God. I am a worship leader here in Savannah at my local church, and I'm also a 911 dispatcher locally here in Savannah as well, one of the supervisors there.
That is a lot of work, and that's I know that is definitely a busy time during these days. So thank you for what you do, being a first responder, coordinating other first responders.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you would join me tonight. And as we are talking about living between two worlds, I'm just kind of wondering, what was it like growing up the child of a German mother and a Black American father? How do you kind of capture that?
So I always tell Mom that I feel like I grew up, I told people I feel like I grew up in a Black household just because my mother basically was around a lot of Black people. Right. So a lot of things that she does and a lot of who she is came from Black people. She was, becoming accustomed to American culture, and that's what she was drawn to, and that's what you hear when you speak to her as well. So, I mean, when it came down to her cooking, she cooked soul food. She cooked a little
That's
bit,
right.
but she cooked soul food. You know, the way she disciplined us, everything was very much so, I think, in relation to, you know, African American culture. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
It's interesting because Sister Kemp speaks with a German accent, but
yeah.
it's obviously influenced by a Southern American Black
Yeah.
accent. Well,
A lot of people
that
think
vernacular.
yeah, a lot of people think he's Jamaican for some, or they hear Jamaican accent, and that's all it is. It's just a merge.
Right. Now, so Dad was in the military. He retired, what, 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's been a little while. I
Yeah,
saw him a couple years ago. He seems to be enjoying retirement a lot.
yes. Especially being
Yeah. So dad is dark skinned, mom is white. Did your family ever experience racism moving around from military installation to installation?
I would say more so in upstate New York. I think a lot of people just weren't familiar. At that time, there weren't that many mixed people in general. Now I feel like there's a lot. So yeah, at that time, I mean, there was a core group of people at my school, and we were all mixed that we all hung out with. As far as my parents were concerned, you would hear kind of, especially when my father and my mother would be out, I would hear, you know, like why is he with her type situation, almost as why didn't my father, a Black man, date a Black woman?
Right.
But one of the craziest story my mother all had shared with me was when I was a baby in the carriage, or when I was younger in the carriage. She said a white lady walked up to her while I was in the carriage and was like, "Oh, your baby has such a beautiful tan. What happened to mom?" And you know my mother. So,
I hope that lady is okay.
some of the ignorant things people would say, they just don't understand, I guess, you know, Black and white coming together, especially during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
70s and the 80s were a little different. But let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the term colorism? Have you ever felt like it was difficult to fit in maybe with the Black community as a mixed person? And how did that come about for you?
Yeah. So I think that more so occurred. So I felt the shift when I moved, you know, in New York, it's a different type of racism. It's more subtle.
Right.
When I moved to South Carolina, when I went to college at Lander University, at first, a lot of the girls didn't like me very much. And so I was warned when I got to South Carolina by some of my family. They warned me. They said, because you are light skinned, a lot of girls will slice the side of your face because you're considered pretty, and they don't like that. So you need to be mindful of that. And so I had to mentally prepare myself, and I was physically prepared in case that was to happen, because those were the warnings that I were given, because I was lighter skinned. They said they don't like light skinned girls. They say that light skinned girls think that they're better than people. And so because they think they're better than people, they're going to come at you a certain way. And so that's what I was warned of. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about your family in Germany? I do know that you guys have gone back there a couple of times. How do they interact with you?
My grandfather is, I mean, he's cool. All of my family has been cool. I have a smaller family on my mom's side than I do on my dad's side. My dad's side is massive. My mom's side is a little bit smaller. So the people that I was able to meet, they were very nice, very welcoming, very kind. I didn't feel any type of racism from them at all. It was very nice.
Okay, Maureen, right now somewhere there's a white mama with a mixed baby girl wondering what she should use in baby girl her. So you got that hair game. So tell us what you use in it.
I have all the curls out. It's all slicked back. But my favorite brand, hands down, is Camille Rose. It's a little bit more pricey, but it's worth it. Camille Rose. There's a gel from Aunt Jackie's. as well as for shampoo and conditioner, I only use Giovanni's tea tree. It's the only thing in my hair. That Pantene Pro V and Herbal Essence I cannot use. So I have to use, I cannot use that. Camille Rose, hands down, I think is the best for curly hair, especially if it's on the thinner side. I think that's great for for mixed babies.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. They didn't have that kind of stuff when I was growing up.
No, all they had was Hawaiian Silky, and you know
that's it. Oh man, Maureen, thank you so much for being with us tonight, sis. The Lord bless you, and please give my love to sister and brother Kent. Tell him I love him.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, likewise. The Lord bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, my next guest is someone I've been able to watch grow in his ministry for over a decade. He's a thoughtful Salvation Army officer, a husband, a daddy, and I was so thrilled that he accepted my invitation to hang out tonight. Y'all greet my friend and comrade, Aaron Abram.
Hey.
Hey, Abram, how you doing, sir?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, tell the viewers a little bit about you. Who is Aaron Abram?
Well, like you said, I'm a Jesus follower, husband, father, Salvation Army officer in that order. I'm also a 5 on the Enneagram, an ISTJ, and an extreme introvert. So even though this is a virtual conversation, I'm still out of my comfort zone.
I know. I'm so honored that you would join me this evening. Thank you. I know that you have a unique story as well, like myself and all of the guests who are on tonight. But I'm just kind of curious, was there a certain point in your life, Aaron, that you came to realize that your ethnicity was hybrid? And could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so I grew up in a single parent household with help from my grandparents, 2 blocks onto the right side of the tracks in town, all white schools, all white churches. So, it wasn't even until high school until I really ran into Black classmates. And about 16 years old, I went off and worked at camp and started talking to the first girl that I had a crush on. And when I came home, my parents thought it was important to tell me the truth because my grandfather, in order to spare me anything that he thought I might endure, had told me that I was half Indian whenever I would ask why I had a different color skin. And so when my parents, when my mom and my grandmother, who was still alive, finally told me, well, actually, you're half Black. And I didn't know what that meant. And still to this day, I'm kind of learning what that means. But I do distinctly remember that moment, finding out the truth and trying to learn everything I could about what that meant from there on.
Man, that had to be an incredible moment in your life. Everything that you thought, the whole narrative behind your story must have changed at that moment. That's wild. And man, I can only imagine the grace of God upon your life as he's kind of developed you as the man that you are today, who is highly respected and appreciated. And I know your wife well. Man, she loves her some Aaron Abram. So I know you are a good man at home as well as in public. Now, when I was a kid, Aaron, adults would say, when I talk about, my ethnicity, they would say, "Oh, Marion, you have the best of both worlds." And what would you say is the most difficult part of being mixed? What was the trickiest part after you came into that knowledge at 16 years old? What was trickiest?
I think that probably the trickiest part for me is just having to learn everything from scratch because I really had no exposure. And even to this day, I made a post on Facebook back in May after George Floyd was killed that unless I happen to look in the mirror or look down at my hands during the day, it doesn't even really pop into my mind that I have brown skin. So trying to figure out what that means and how to process my life, because when I know, like that video that led into tonight's discussion, when other people see me, they don't see what I see or think about on the inside. They see a Black man, and that can go in any direction depending on the context of that encounter. So yeah.
So now, when we first met, you didn't have any kiddos, but now you do.
Yeah.
2 beautiful girls with a handsome boy in between.
Yeah.
What are you doing to help them appreciate and celebrate their unique heritage?
So one thing I always say about my kids is anytime I pick them up from a new place for the first time, I'm surprised that I don't get carded because they look nothing like me. You know, my white side is English, and my wife is Welsh, Irish, Scandinavian. So they are white, except from June to August, they've got a little bit of a tan that people envy. But I think about especially Black History Month when they come home and excited to tell me about Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, Harriet Tubman, and just digging a little deeper because there's often times where what they're exposed to at school doesn't really go deep enough. And so for me, it's a blessing because I get to learn right alongside them because I'm still growing and figuring out what it means. And so reminding them that they're a child of God, and just because people look a certain way or have a certain characteristic about them doesn't change that fact, and that they should treat everyone the same. So
yeah, man, Aaron, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being with me tonight and here on Sunday Night Insights and sharing your story and just being vulnerable. I know that that's not completely comfortable for you as an introvert and sharing those very sensitive parts of your stories. And so So I just want to honor that for a moment and say thank you. And I respect you so much. And I love you. Please give my love to your bride and your kiddos. Okay.
God bless.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, my next guest is someone you might be familiar with. Her name is Amy Reardon. She's a wife, a mother, Salvation Army officer, and the author of Identity Revealed, a devotional study in Colossians. Now, Amy and I met at an event 12 or 13 years ago where we were both speakers and we hit it off quickly. We just knew we were brother and sister. And not long ago, she shared a unique story with me, which I thought would be great for tonight's broadcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my sister, Amy Reardon. What's up, sis?
Hi, Marion. Great to be with you tonight.
Yeah, welcome back to Sunday Night Insights. Repeat guest here. How's it going in Seattle?
Pretty good. Another rainy day.
Yeah. So all is well and normal.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, tell the viewers a little bit about you. Who is Amy?
Well, like you said, I'm a mother. I'm a Salvation Army officer. I have 5 kids. I'm married to Rob, and I am passionate about the Lord Jesus, and I'm passionate about the Word of God. I love theology, and I love to study the Word, and I never feel like I can get enough, like I know enough. I love the Word. That's me, I think.
Yeah, that is you, and that comes across in every interaction that I've had with you since I think 2008. So definitely great bio. Hey, you mentioned to me a couple months ago that you learned something about your heritage. Can you share some of that story with us?
Yeah, I was raised by a white mom and a white dad. I have a brother and sister. I'm the middle child, and they are both blonde, light blue-eyed, very fair-skinned. And I was always told that my mother and father were my real biological parents. And no matter how many times I asked, they swore that I was their child. And finally, long story short, my brother and I both did DNA tests a couple of years ago. And my world was rocked when mine came back and said that Dave was my half brother. And then the truth came out. By this time, I was 52 years old. And I believed all those 52 years that I was a white person, 100% white, maybe something in the way back that had come out in me, but that these were my parents. And then I had this whole new revelation at that point in my life.
Yeah. What's the transition into that knowledge been like?
Well, it has been 2 things really. First of all, it's been a huge relief because to own your own truth is very important. And, God does not dismiss the physical body. The physical body matters. And so to have something that I could claim that actually matched what I saw in the mirror, that mattered to me a lot. And also the relief of not feeling like I was a walking lie. Like, this may sound weird, but I would, for example, let's say I wanted to put on a pair of hoop earrings and put my hair down. And then I'd look in the mirror and I'd go, oh no, I can't do that because I look too black. And not that I didn't want to look black. It's just that I felt like then I was deceiving everybody. because
Right.
people would perceive me to be a Black person. And I knew, as far as I was concerned, I knew I was a white person. So I felt like I was constantly deceiving everyone around me.
Yeah.
And I really felt like there was something very wrong with me. And I felt almost even guilty about it. So it was a huge relief to learn the truth. But it was also the most, and still is in some ways, the most alienating experience of my life. First, because it alienates me from my brother and sister. And that's, I mean, in a way, you know, I mean, obviously we love each other.
I understand. Yep.
To be different. And that's painful for me.
Yeah.
And my dad, who raised me, died 2 years before I learned any of this. And to not be able to thank him for embracing me as his own daughter,
Yeah.
that's very, very hard for me. But also it's alienating because I don't, you know, now I understand myself, you know, like it said in the beginning, in that intro thing you did, there's no mixed in America, there's Black or white. And now I'm trying to claim Black. And like Aaron said, I don't know that culture. You know, so it's very alienating, even though all my friends who are mixed or Black have been so embracing and so welcoming. I feel like an imposter. And that's very hard for me.
Yeah, well, you know, I just want you to know, I mean, and you've probably heard a lot of this already, that most of us tend to kind of be raised in a particular way. And so your experience of not knowing how to identify is more common than you would think, you know. So even my sons and my daughter, they are, you know, they often wonder, like, how do I identify? How do I, you know, when people ask me what I am, how do I respond? And so that is a common experience of people of mixed heritage, and not only folks who are mixed with Black and white, but those who are half Latinx or Asian, or different strains of European descent, and so it's different for folks who live between two worlds. You know, I can't wait to read your memoirs, Amy. I mean, you're so articulate and thoughtful, and what an incredible chapter that's going to be. So, listen. Whenever you speak, whether you're sharing the gospel or reflecting your own unique experience, there's such depth. And I know every person who's watching either is just experiencing that now, or they already know that about you. What do you want your legacy to be, Amy?
I got to be honest, Marion, I've thought about this before, and I don't think I really want a legacy. I've said before, when I have a funeral, when I have a memorial service, I don't want anyone to bother saying she was faithful to God. All I want them to say is God was faithful to her.
Hallelujah.
And so all I want is his name to be known. So I don't know if that's an appropriate answer, but I don't really think about it.
Absolutely appropriate. And there's no way that's not going to happen, because our God is faithful.
Amen.
He will be found faithful in our lives. My sister, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a couple minutes tonight. So glad to call you a friend. You're such an encouragement and a blessing to me, to my family. And I just love you and appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. God bless
All right.
you.
Give my love to Rob, okay?
Will do.
All right, sis. Bye-bye. Well, my final guest is one of my favorite kids in the world. And she's not a kid anymore. She's an adult from Orlando, Florida. She's an incredibly talented dancer and musician. Destiny has always been an intelligent, if not precocious, young person. And I think her mama's watching. And so if you need to send me some messages about what to ask her, you feel free to do that, Mrs. James. But I am just so proud of her. And we connected just over 7 years ago. And it's been a privilege of mine to stay in touch with her and her family. Destiny, how's it going?
Hey, it's good.
Good. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Sunday Night Insights. How is the Sunshine State?
It is great. It's still hot. Never changes season here, so we're still in summer.
Yeah, that's Florida. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself, Destiny. Who is Destiny?
Well, I am 21 years old. I'm a dancer. I'm a nail tech now. I'm a huge believer. Always have been, always will be. And
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of our little family of four, our little mixed family. I'm the baby.
Yep. So I have the privilege of having met your whole family. I believe maybe even some aunts or grandparents or something like that. But I know dad and mom, and I understand that your dad is from St. Croix, right? My wife is from St. Croix, as you know.
Yes.
So dad's from St. Croix, and is mom from Florida?
So actually, she was raised in Florida, but she was born in Arkansas. Very little know that. Very
Okay.
little know. So the family runs deep through the South, those states.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting to me because obviously I've been to St. Croix a couple times, and I've been to Arkansas. I work about 1.1 mile from there. Now, those are some very different places. So tell me, how different are your two families?
So it's interesting. I actually asked them when I saw this question because I'm like, when I thought about them, I'm like, wow, our families are very alike in a lot of ways. Like in
Awesome.
both places, the South and the islands, family, like being family oriented is a huge deal. Big families are a huge deal. So I have two really big family oriented sides of my family. But a lot of things do differ when you get down to the nitty gritty. Like, for example, a lot of the things that we celebrate in the States or acknowledge in the States, they don't really recognize in the islands, or a lot of the foods that we eat here, they don't really, like the foods they eat, we don't eat, or the foods we eat, they don't eat. When my dad came here and saw that sweet potatoes were orange and tea was cold, he about lost it. But mostly just things like that. A lot of our core values, though, really do align, which I
Yeah.
found interesting when I was thinking back on it.
Yeah, St. Croix is such a tiny island. It's very small, and so the culture is very rich, and I would imagine that would give way to similar cultural experience to the South. That's a good observation. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Destiny, I have my own stories here, but do you ever have people ask you, especially you live in Florida, right? It's like a melting pot of the world.
Mhm.
But do you ever have people ask you, what are you?
What are
How do
you?
you
I
respond to
felt it coming. What
that?
are you? All the time, all the time. Even to this day, I get clients at work, and I'm just living my best professional life, trying to do their nails, and they're like staring at me. They're like, "So what are you?" I'm like, "I'm a nail tech."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was having breakfast a couple months ago with a Salvation Army advisory board member, and the waitress was giving me that look, like you can
You
tell
see
a
it
question
coming.
is coming, right? And she said, so what are you? And I said, oh, what do you mean? She was like, "Yeah, like where are you from?" And I said, well, I'm from the United States. I'm American. And she said, well, where are you from? It's like, oh, I got it. I see what you're asking me now.
Mhm.
So, my father is African American. My mother is white. My grandparents are Lumbee and Gullah. So there's a whole lot of mixture. And she said, oh, okay. And I said, now what are you? She's like, well, I'm American. I said,
Mhm.
no. Where are you from?
Where are you?
And so that question, and it was interesting because the advisory board member thought it was intriguing. I didn't know that he had caught it, but he did. And so that question it's been kind of one of the themes of my life.
Mhm.
What are you? Do you ever, especially in this day and age, when it seems like um, the division between binary races seems to get deeper and deeper. Do you ever have trouble um, helping your family to understand on either side how you feel about certain social issues?
100%. I think it's very unique. The way me and my sister were raised was in the States. We were born and raised, and we didn't have much contact with our family from the islands
Yeah.
until we were much older. So we were surrounded by Our white family are Arkansas natives, some Indiana natives, some
Yeah.
Oklahoma natives. They all compiled in Florida, and that's who we were raised around, and I love them. But it was really hard for them to understand once we got older and started like really embracing like that side of us that we never really got to connect with.
Yeah.
Once we really started like identifying like our blackness and standing proud in it, and especially in today's culture and society, like now we're fighting for that as Black women, and it's hard for them to understand, some of them sometimes, that us owning that we're Black is not saying we're non-white.
Yeah.
We're not trying to dishonor the side or disobey the side or abandon the side, but they do have to coexist equally because we are equally as Black as we are white.
Yeah.
So I think that was hard for them to get a grip on the fact that like we're not saying, oh, we're Black and only Black, but we also can't sit here and say we're white and only white, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. What an astute observation. I mean, that is very much a part of my life, and probably, you know, most of the folks who are on the broadcast tonight or watching who have this experience understands how that feels, because, you know, sometimes even parents or extended family, you know, wonder what happened to you when you start to speak like this. So hold on a second. Are you about to vote in your first presidential election?
I am about to vote in my first presidential election.
Let's go. All right. So and voter registration cards, I can't, well, yeah, and here in Tennessee, you have to check a box.
The box.
Yeah. How do you handle the box?
Okay, I'm not a fan of the box. I faced the box my whole life in school and
Can you define the box, because somebody might not know what we're talking about. So.
All right, the box. That's the dreaded box on any application, any registration, anytime you're signing up for anything, they always want you to check the box of your race, the one box.
The one.
There can never be one. All right. It wasn't until 2020 that I saw the first one have like an other or a mixed race, but that's very rare still. And it's usually not on very like official documents. It's usually on like that random job application that you just applied for.
Right.
So yeah, usually when I get to the box, I usually try to pick not, what does it say? Like not
non-Latin Black.
That or I'll just put like sometimes they have like a prefer not to specify. I'll often pick that one because A, I don't really want to pick to say I'm Black or I'm white because I'm equally both. And B, I never know which is the right or wrong answer, which snowballs into another issue.
Right.
A lot of times for like jobs or for like official things, I don't want to be the minority, the token minority.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be like, I'm white, and then I show up with my whole head of curls, and I'm like,
yeah. That's interesting. That's one of the things I just, you know, want to speak just for a moment about the first time that I met you, where we were at camp in Florida, and that's one of the beautiful things about the Salvation Army camps, because you get to see like the kingdom. You get every variation of skin color and experience and culture when you're at a Salvation Army camp. Are you ever made to feel bad because you don't know Spanish?
oh, all the time. All the time. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not even Hispanic.
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard for me in Florida, because whenever I needed a haircut, I would go to the Dominican barbers, because I don't know Spanish, but this is Dominican hair. I did learn that. So yeah, I get it. Well, Destiny, you make me so proud. You're unique and creative and outspoken, and I want you to keep being you, okay?
Thank you. Will do.
Yeah, give my love to Brianna, to mom and dad, and thanks for hanging out with me for a moment tonight.
Dude, thanks for having me on the show.
All right, thanks for being here. God bless you. Bye-bye. Wow. Okay. So how fun was that? My hope is that what we've heard from guests this Sunday night has been informational, inspirational, and insightful. Maybe you learned something new about the nuance of being between two worlds. It ain't as easy as we make it look. It's quite complex. And so, whenever you have an opportunity to learn about the experience of someone else, I think you should do that. It's incredible information out there. I want to say thank you to all of my guests for this evening and give a special shout out to Drake, Alicia Keys, Lenny Kravitz, Misty Copeland, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Meghan Markle, Patrick Mahomes, President Barack Obama, Halle Berry, and Prince, may he rest in peace, Rogers Nelson. This is Marion in the Man Cave in Memphis. I'll be out of the studio next week because of a speaking engagement, but I'll see you the Sunday after next at the intersection of information and inspiration. Thank you so much for being with us. May the Lord bless you richly this week.